Well, that's the catch. You can't help her. You see, you feel compelled to help her. That is the dynamic that needs help. You need to simply recognize there is nothing that needs help. That the experience of needing help is part and parcel with the disorder itself. You see, narcissists displace all responsibility. Okay, they're victims to themselves. You see, somebody that's a victim to their own affliction constantly maintains an entitlement to their own brokenness as a way to avoid the shame and guilt and responsibility of life. And so that forces other people to take up the mantle of responsibility. You see, that dynamic is something that you're still stuck within. This need to be good enough for mom, this guilt, this feeling of parental responsibility, where the roles are reversed. But if you look, your entire childhood was likely dominated by concerns about being good enough for your mom, because you would see your mom would be displeased, unhappy, or feel like a failure as a mother. You see, her own shame, guilt is projected onto you. You might find that she pities you. You might find that you have not achieved the level of self sufficiency and success because when you maintain relationships with people that negate, devalue, and make you responsible, they get in your head. You see, think about how much is your mother distracting you. She's going to compete with your success. She's going to be threatened by other relationships that you have because you're a source of supply. And I'm going to tell you something. As long as that dynamic is in existence, she will continue the charade of victimhood. You need to understand something, that the behaviors of narcissists are emotionally arbitrary. What does that mean, emotionally arbitrary? They're emulations. You see, when they lack empathy because they lack emotional experience. Emotional experience means that those emotions do not surface to their awareness. They're subconscious. And so their behaviors are causal, meaning that she has your number. She knows how to put on her victimhood. She knows how to put on her affliction. She is trying to induce you into a caregiving role because that is what they do. Covert narcissists are often the ones that are misinterpreted as victims of abuse, meaning she could have driven your father to be very abusive. Your dad could have been a malignant narcissist, could have been a normal people pleaser that got stuck into cycles of reactive abuse by being needled, undermined, negated. You see, what I can tell you in my own dynamic is, my dad is a covert, but he has very strong sadism and malignant tendencies. And so, my mother would never ever validate anything that he liked. And so, like his cars, anything and everything that made him feel good about himself, turned her off. And so, my dad, being very controlling, maintained a very clean house. But when they divorced, my mother went and got like 3 dogs at the animal shelter, 15 cats, had live-in babysitters that would just come. The kids would be scribbling on the walls. There would be no cooking, no cleaning. That the new beautiful house that my father and mother bought together now looked like a zoo. Literally, any animals, any toys, it smelled of urine. It was just destroyed. It was disorganized, and it was as if my mom was finally free from the oppression of any expectations to clean. And so, what you need to know is then that creates a dynamic where she's like, well, nobody helps me. Nobody helps me. But you see, here's an example. Like if I go and clean out the whole garage, what'll end up happening is that'll be like me restarting this effort to put forth an effort. But then while I'm working, they'll go and start piling garbage. Like if I go out there now, I'll find bags of recycled stuff, and it doesn't matter how often I clean it, they will not respect or honor those efforts. And so, this constant need for you to prove yourself to her is her need. You see, reactive abuse or being cared for, you see, the victim in the covert narcissist is the main source of supply and identity in the same way that a grandiose narcissist needs to be special, the same way a grandiose narcissist needs to be infallible, can't lose an election, all of that. The covert narcissist will need to be a victim. They will find fault, they will find your triggers, and they will lean on them. And so While you're trying to remove yourself from her, it's not actually her that's the issue, it's you. Because you see, you're going to feel guilty by avoiding, you're going to feel used by helping, and so you're going to catch 22. Where if you leave and abandon your mom, you're going to feel guilt. And if you help her, you're going to be in this toxic dynamic where it's never good enough and you're being devalued, used, manipulated. And so it's not about what you do, it's about letting go. So here's something you can do right now. Here's something you can do right now. You know, I do coaching, but you can try this on your own because I'm publishing it in the book. Go to a mirror. I want you to take some deep breaths. I want you to connect with your breath. I want you to start to find yourself noticing that there's a voice in your head. I want you to notice that voice. I want you to consider that that voice isn't you. It's really important that you notice that voice because when you do this exercise, that voice is going to amplify. What you're going to do for the first time is you're going to separate yourself from that voice right now. This is a transformational exercise that anybody watching this video can do this. Now, the context of this statement has to be maintained as the fulfillment of the statement. The act of letting go of something has to be the only reason you're doing it. You're not looking for an emotion. You're not looking for a change. This is not to fix what's broken. You see, you have pervasive thoughts of being not enough, pervasive feelings of guilt, shame, fears of abandonment, fears of not belonging, and you have a pervasive notion that there is something wrong with you, that there's something fundamentally broken. You see, children of narcissistic mothers, for example, will be projected on a lot, that she will pity herself based on your failures, almost like you will see her be disappointed and depressed about her failure as a mother based on what you haven't or have achieved in life. And so her entitlement to define herself based on your life will have you trying to be good enough to prove yourself to her, seek her approval as a grown adult. And so this fear of abandonment, we have to let it go. We have to let it go now. Okay, so here we go. Now this statement separates you from the experience you're having, and it's likely to cause that experience to come up. It's likely to surface confusion. You have to notice it, and notice it, and notice it, and let it go. Here we go. I give up the right to have the complaint that I'm not good enough in my life forever. You got to say that in the mirror, and it's not to believe it. Ego needs to believe. The ego needs evidence. This is not an evidence-based thing. This is consciousness. It has to be said out loud, and you could have all that chatter happening. Say it anyway. It'll turn the chatter off. You can free yourself right this second. I give up the right to have the complaint that I'm not good enough in my life forever. I give up the right to have the complaint that I'm abandoned in my life forever. I give up the right to have the complaint that there's something wrong with me in my life forever. Now just notice what's going on. Notice it. I give up the right to have the complaint that I'm confused in my life forever. I give up the right to have the complaint that I'm ashamed in my life forever. I give up the right to have the complaint that I'm broken in my life forever. I give up the right to have the complaint that I don't matter in my life forever. I give up the right to have the complaint that there's something wrong with me in my life forever. I give up the right to have the complaint that I'm unforgivable in my life forever. I give up the right to have the complaint that I'm sad in my life forever. I give up the right to have the complaint that I'm betrayed in my life forever. I give up the right to have the complaint that I'm used in my life forever. I give up the right to have the complaint that I'm helpless in my life forever. I give up the right to have the complaint that I'm stuck in my life forever. I give up the right to have the complaint that I'm paralyzed in my life forever. I give up the right to have the complaint that I'm hopeless in my life forever. I give up the right to have the complaint that I'm powerless in my life forever. I give up the right to have the complaint that I have to figure it out in my life forever. I give up the right to have the complaint that I have to be perfect in my life forever. I give up the right to have the complaint that I'm alone in my life forever. Those are your triggers. Let them go. Tell me how it goes in the comments. Make a video if you like.